I'm on my fourth career. This is currently my 28th job. Biotech, chef, project management, an entrepreneurship journey presenting itself.
28 jobs, entrepreneurship, like what the heck is going on here?
It has been a journey of finding myself and kind of what I want to do.
Welcome to Chiseled for Success, the podcast where we share the real stories behind success, the stories of growth, grit, and the moments that shape who we become.
I'm really excited about this episode that we have Joseph Cloute joining us. Joseph is a fantastic networker, a community builder. He is the owner of Bumble Blinds of Madison, and most importantly, he's a loving partner and a father to a son. Welcome, Joseph.
Thanks, Monica. Excited to be here today.
We're excited to have this conversation. So how are you feeling today, Joseph?
I'm feeling fantastic. It's a Monday, coming off of a weekend where I got to recharge, reboot, and equally, we just got done talking. I had to silence the phone because the phone's ringing because everyone wants our services.
That's a great way. It's a Monday morning, so that's a fantastic way to start out Monday for a business owner. Way to jump right in. Talking about success, and so love your story. I know you and I have had some conversations, and the journeys have had some twists and turns and some pivots, and so excited to have you share your journey with our viewers. So would love to just kind of start out with, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah. I'm on my fourth career. This is currently my 28th job. And I always say, what would you be doing if you weren't the owner of a small business? And it would be probably looking for my 29th job, because it has been a journey of finding myself and kind of what I want to do. And I will say 1 year into business ownership, I continue to say that I'm officially unemployable in the regular corporate world at this point, because I don't know a path that is better than the current one.
That's great. So this 28 job changes and fourth career.
Yep.
So there's a lot behind that. Just for a quick overview, what were the 4 careers?
Sure. A master's degree from UW-Madison in bacteriology, straight into biotech, and realized very quickly that a lot of that is majorly repetitive work, as well as you are trying to find things that they don't want to be there. So when you do find things, the only attention you get is negative attention. None of that spoke to me. So while I was working those jobs, was also working in the service industry. That life spoke to me more. Now I have a better understanding of why. But the dichotomy was really great. A lot of your best scientists are very introverted people. And so I needed an outlet, and that became the service industry, which then led to the next career, which was I quit my job, sold my house, moved across the country to a city I'd never been to or lived in before, and started culinary school, and quickly became a chef. Realizing there was a lot of common things with science and cooking. And that spoke to me for a long time until I had my son, and always kind of knew science would be a place that I would land again. And so this time I went into project management, because I convinced them that project managing was just like being a chef with longer timelines and less fire and knives. And they were like, "Oh, you're so calm all the time." And I'm like, "I've seen some things." So, but project management didn't hold up very long. And then an entrepreneurship journey presented itself. And so approximately a year ago, I opened Bumble Blinds of Madison, franchise owned by Horsepower Brands out of Omaha. And they have 9 different home service franchises, this being one of them. So, yeah. And then here we are.
And here you are. Well, congratulations on 1 year.
Thank you.
And there's a lot for us to unpack just in that introduction. I'm guessing there's been a lot of you becoming who you are. And also, it sounds like you started to learn things that maybe weren't you. You talked about negative repetition. Where would you say was kind of a pivotal moment that you started to shape who you are today?
Becoming a father.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, you got to figure out your own identity and how you want to be seen by someone who you're raising, right? How do you want them to see you? And so part of that journey, bled into things like the career and stuff like that, because realizing who I was as a person, and some of it not always great things that I was as a person, and what I wanted to change to do better, to be a good role model for somebody who was going to look up to me for their whole life.
Life-changing, right?
Big time.
And he's how old now?
Just turned 7 in April.
7 in April.
Yep.
Great time to ask. So maybe 8 years ago, because that was a pivotal change for you. How would you have described success then?
Oh, yeah. Entirely different than I choose to define it today. Then it was your typical American journey of like, how far up could I get in the company? How much money could I make? How many things could I own? And that was about it.
Just listened to a message yesterday in regards to comparison never wins, or competing never wins. And so as you were kind of thinking about success then, what were some beliefs that you had as you were climbing those ladders?
Well, a lot of them were negative beliefs, because in the corporate world, it was all about what you're doing for us and how you can just assimilate to be the same person that isn't an issue, don't have ideas, don't move things forward. And so it was really hard on me, because I am such a forward thinker, and part of the things I learned about myself was a very late ADD diagnosis, and that defined the way I approached every problem, conversation, situation, and how I thought about things. But neurodivergency is such a superpower if used correctly. So that was a huge part of it. And then there was unlearning of all of the things that I had been taught growing up throughout the years, and that was a big step in the journey of redefining what success looked like, as well as, the path to entrepreneurship, for sure.
Sure. Those unlearnings, right? By the time we're 7 years old, we're like, this is who we are. What is one of the biggest beliefs that you used to have, which we can change our beliefs at any time? What is one that really sticks out to you, that if you were to think of the question of what's a belief you had that you no longer have, what's the one that bubbles up for you?
Yeah. The biggest one was being perfect. I was raised in a household where I could do 99 things right and one thing wrong, and the only focus was on that one thing that I did wrong. So it drove me to perfectionism and being perfect, and I had to unlearn that to find out that we all have faults, and where perfection is not seen as the number one quality in people. People can relate to you better if you do have those faults, or just extreme candor of like, hey, I messed up, or I don't know. I was never allowed to say I don't know. I had to have an answer, be the smartest one in the room, know everything. And some of that was the chef lifestyle, I would say too, because it's, what would chef do? And when they ask you a question, it can't be like, well, let's figure this out together. It's just like, no, it's this. And whether it's right or not is an entirely another question. But yeah, it was a lot of that that I had to process and unlearn.
Yeah. Did you find yourself kind of paralysis by analysis at times with that perfectionism?
Oh, yeah. You combine perfectionism with a little bit of neurodivergency, and you will find that you will procrastinate till the very end because you are so afraid to start something that you aren't 100% sure that you know everything about.
Mm-hmm.
But they say the first step is what you have to do, right? So even if that first step is the wrong step and you find out later it's a misstep, at least it's forward motion.
Just get the momentum going.
Exactly.
Then the velocity will come, right?
Exactly.
And so what are some highlights that you would say that you celebrate on this journey about Joseph?
Yeah, great question. I would say my partner would tell you that I am the worst at celebrating my wins because I'm always on to the next milestone, the next, achievement and those types of things. So sitting back and enjoying those moments. And a big part of that was finding someone who does that better than you and can teach you. I've learned so much from my partner. And that is absolutely one of those things that she makes me stop to appreciate how far I've come and the things I've accomplished. And so I try better to the point where now I recognize it's so hard in other people where, it's taken some training and some unlearning to get a compliment and just say thank you and be quiet after that. So now when other people have to justify on their half the compliment, I'm just like, hey, let me help you. Just say thank you and shake your head. So that's really fun. And, also one of the things I really love and appreciate in my life is the mentoring of other people, right? And having those moments where you can influence someone because you see so much of yourself in them and you're helping them along their journey when they're so far earlier than you are, where, I wish there was somebody that would have taken me under their wing at that point as well and had those insights.
Yeah. I like to think of in my journey, who's ahead of me that is like, man, that's somebody that I would really like to learn more from and get to the level, whatever that comparison is, who is maybe behind me a little bit that I can kind of help along the way, and who is right next to me that's on my journey. So I always think about those three roles in my life and where I'm positioned.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, my partner and myself, and because we're always trying to seek those people who are a little bit ahead of us as great role models and people who we can ask. And then yes, there's plenty of those that seek us out for those same things. And so, making that a priority and being there for them as well.
Right. I think one of the things that I had to unlearn was kind of judgment, just people that were ahead of me in whatever definition that was, and really become curious and ask questions. And still to this day, I do not have anybody that I haven't asked a question about their success or what I saw as success that wasn't willing to share. And so a lot of times, someone says something, I'm like, did you ask how they did it? Because you might be able to learn how to do it too. And so it's a great change that judgment to curiosity.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of the things in project management, I made everyone kind of change their mindset because judgment is such a strong thing. And so it was always, we would enter these conversations and instead of being defensive and judging and all of those things, like we just had a post-it on everyone's monitor that just said, be curious.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're curious and continue to ask questions, like it is so much easier to have a conversation than being the back and forth volley of defensive and aggressive. And you get so much more accomplished if you're just curious. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Explain more about this.
Yeah. Just changing up that language a
100%.
tiny little bit.
Yes. Yep.
So 28 different jobs. You might have the most of anybody I know. I don't know.
It's not a record I like to.
I love how you own it. I like how you own it. So kind of why did you keep changing?
Yeah. Another thing I had to unlearn, I would say, for sure. I liked the newness of everything. And then once I kind of mastered it, it became boring. And then I wanted something new. And then I would just burn everything down and be like, I'm out. I'm done with this. The grass is greener somewhere else. Let's go. And then I would just repeat that over and over and over again. So yeah, that was that was something absolutely to unlearn. But I would say throughout all of it, it gave me the opportunity to work with so many good leaders to figure out the type of leader that I wanted to be. So many poor leaders to find out what I didn't want to do and how I didn't want to show up. I was always the new guy. So that's an interesting spot to be in. But how to redefine like having to prove yourself to people over and over and over again as the new person. So yeah, a lot of it I wouldn't change. Some of them I wish, obviously didn't happen, but but each one was a lesson in itself for sure.
Yeah, whatever's presented in each day is meant to be, right? So
Exactly.
when you jumped to entrepreneurship, you just talked about all those learnings that you had and even talking about how you've connected your 4 careers. What kind of leader do you want to be as an entrepreneur?
A great one. I mean, who's not going to say that, right? But what defines a great leader, right?
Yeah.
And so what I define as a great leader may not speak to the people that I'm leading, right? So the biggest thing is nobody likes to be managed. Everyone loves to be led, right? So I really try to find the people who, I know their personality type. I understand what motivates them, why they get out of bed each morning, and then how I can best support that, right? And once you know what motivates people, it's really easy to work with them. And then when you figure out their personality type and how your personality type works best with theirs. Speaking of learning, my partner, probably 3 weeks into our relationship, made me take a Strength Finders test, the full version, because she was like, if we're getting into this, I want to know everything. And I'm like, so here for that. And then we just compared our strengths and we continue to fall back on, our top 5 strengths and what our top 5 weaknesses are and how much ours complement each other, because we're total opposites in how we do many, many things. But when we work together, us combined can do way more than we could separately.
Yeah, combining those, right? And again, accepting what you're not very good at. And none of us can be good at everything.
Exactly.
So as a leader, when we can come out and share with people our vulnerabilities for me, I'm not a very detail-oriented person. My emails will have misspelling errors, even, with autocorrection because my thoughts are just moving so much faster than I'll ever be able to type and have it make sense. But once I was able to kind of just accept that versus getting stuck by reading an email 15 times to make sure it was perfect, and just tell my team, hey, just so you know, it's not where you're going to see me shine.
Yeah.
And people are like, no big deal, right? But I took that away. And so I love that you're willing to kind of say, I would lean into people that had detail done if I was sending something super important. Hey, can you look this over to add your detail? Anything that you see. So
Exactly. Yeah.
just kind of complement each other. So how is an entrepreneurship going for you as a person? Like, how is it feeling?
Great question. I would say this is the most me I've ever felt in my life. It was hard to get into that because, it wasn't the way that we were raised. Like, it was, as I always say, it wasn't on the bingo card for the guidance counselor to be a window coverings business owner. And so I was just like, no, it was like you were top 10 in your class, you go to college, you get degrees, you go work in a corporate environment. Like that's what you're meant for. Right. it was a really tough pill to swallow, to be like, I am not meant for this. Like, this isn't me. And finding that, and this is much more my true self. It's been really interesting. I hired a sales consultant, 3 months ago now. And as she was coming with me and shadowing and meeting people and networking and those types of things, like, she continually heard from other people, like, oh, Joe's such a great guy. Oh, you're so lucky to have the opportunity to work with Joe. Oh, you're going to love it. Joe is really great. Like, all of these things, to the point where she was like, what have you been telling these people that everyone is just like, Joe's fantastic? Like, on and on. And I'm just like, I am just being myself. And now if you go back to some of the 28 jobs and you talk to them about the Joe that existed in those, none of those same words would be used. I can almost guarantee it, because it wasn't me. Here I get to show up as my authentic self, be my own identity of who I want people to see me as. And that is much more of what defines me in other people's eyes. And so to hear that is just like probably one of my biggest successes.
That is fascinating. Congrats on getting there, right?
Thank you.
So as you have made those changes, identity changes, showing up differently, what has been the hardest part of that?
The unlearning. Now very much more when I'm triggered now, instead of that forward, it's taking a step back and being like, what's triggering me? Why is it triggering me? And what about me is causing this conflict? And why is it not in alignment of like how I want to be or show up and whatever, instead of just the quick to judgment, the push forward, the create confrontation, all of those types of things that end up getting you nowhere. It's that be curious, but be curious about yourself. And then, through a lot of the work that I've done, it's pretty easy to get to those same common themes of why it's triggering me. So I will say the more you do it, the more you flex those muscles, the quicker you get to those conclusions and the quicker you're able to get through resolution.
Yeah, moving through it. I mean, I love you repeating unlearning a few times. That's what chiseling is all about, right? Just taking things away that are not, creating your masterpiece. And so it's great that you're able to continue to unlearn, which there's so many things to unlearn, almost more to unlearn than to actually learn in today's world.
Absolutely. If you keep it simple, which is one of the big things that I wrote down, just show up and be a good human, right?
Yeah.
And if you just keep it that simple, and keep that as one of your core values, the rest of the stuff becomes really easy.
What's a good human to you?
That's great. I think it's different for everyone, but I think we hit on a couple of really good qualities. The vulnerability thing is super important. Great candor and honesty. Wanting to see the best for others, instead of pushing them down to raise you up. Like, if we all come up together, we'll all be in a higher point, right? Being a great mentor to whoever reaches out, always making time and prioritizing that, because if you're in servitude of others and trying to help others, good things will continue to flow your way, is what I truly believe in. And it's always so interesting, and it shows up on a regular basis. And for me, it's kind of like, I will go to help somebody, like truly help someone, not even for profit. If it's just like a repair, I'm happy to take a look at it, or I'll swing by and do my best to find you a path forward. And I will literally walk out of one of those appointments and it will be an email of something that's good, a phone call or a text of something that's good. And you just see the universe always working in your favor when you're doing those types of things.
You're speaking my language. This
is why we connect so well, and we
right?
have such a great relationship even outside of this podcast, is because we are aligned on those types of things.
You're so aligned on it. One thing that I love the word humble, right? And the idea of those little seeds that I always talk about planting. And so if someone needs that mentorship in whatever way it is, pausing to handle that will lift you up incredibly. And
Yes.
so, and then the world just keeps giving you more to nurture all those seeds that you've planted. I believe that world is always working for us, Joe.
Yep.
Always working for us. When we kind of think about your times that you were down, I'm guessing there was some periods through this journey of transition. What lifted you back up?
Yeah, great question. A lot of it was trust in the process, and that what we kind of just said, and that this was a path that presented itself to me for a reason, and the universe has a plan. And we may not always see it on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month basis, but it is always happening. And if you just trust in that, and the other big thing is just continually try to reach what we call a flow state. Because when you are in flow, being your authentic self, you're attracting good vibes that are then going to present itself in abundance, in love, in joy, all of those things that you're seeking that, are kind of your higher self.
Yeah. Love those words. Abundance is my favorite. Didn't even know what that word, I knew that word existed, but I really didn't know how to use it about 7 years ago.
Right.
Because my world was so different than today. And
Yeah. You would say it was small, right?
Right. Exactly. How do you describe success today?
Yeah. There's a number of ways that I define success. Some of it is, and it's not necessarily looking at the judgment of others, but definitely, Amy saying to me that all these people had nothing but good things to say about me, that's part of my success, is if they're seeing me that way, that means I'm showing up how I want to be seen, which is my true self. Success is, showing my son a different path, a different journey, and being a good role model in that, helping him understand that I wake up every day to try to help others, whether it's helping them find solutions for their window coverings, or whether it's helping others in the community or through networking, being a mentor or role model for other people. That's been really great. I did not have that same mindset or outlook in previous jobs, I would say. It was much more of I'm exchanging my time for money and not necessarily seeing the fruits of my labor, right? Future success looks like having a really good balance, which allows me the time to, show up to the soccer games or do things that we enjoy together, whether it be as a family, individually, or just my son and myself. That's a huge part of it. And then one of the other things that continued to show up in my goals of this is the community involvement. So I am much more a part of the community than a time where I was working in corporate, sitting behind a desk remotely for a company that existed in Texas, and I had no, social or community establishment here. Now, I'm known in different chambers. I'm able to help support, even our neighborhood association and things like that, like sponsors. All of those types of things. One of my biggest things, and I mentioned it, as I said, my employee yesterday, is I feel so proud to be able to help support her family through the business, and helping, her successes then lead to supporting her family, which then gives them all the opportunity to have their dreams be fulfilled, right? So that's been awesome and a huge part of the success of the company.
Yeah. When you talked about the world being small, when we were talking about abundance, isn't it amazing when you get into the communities and those networkings and what you learn? I mean, some of it you didn't even know was out there.
Right.
And then it's really fun when you start to tell people about it, because you still have your connections back, in your other seasons of life. And they're like, how did you learn all of this? And you're like, come out, come see it, right? Come check it out. When you think about all of this, kind of putting it together, this is why I wanted to have a conversation with you on camera, because I think it's so cool. I think there's a lot of people that, 4 careers, 28 jobs, entrepreneurship, like what the heck is going on here? But there's a lot of people out there that are like, that's me, right? Or I feel stuck, or I haven't been willing to go try 28 jobs just to see the path. So what would you say to someone who may just be feeling a little stuck right now?
There's no better time than right now to reinvent yourself. And you can be anything you want to be. You wake up every morning and you make choices. So figure out what that is, figure out your authentic self, your identity that you want to be seen as, and then just wake up every day and work towards that. Like the amount of, one of the biggest fears I had was, I did 100-hour work weeks as a chef. I was a little bit younger of a man at that point. Did I have the energy to do this in a way that was going to grow the business? And honestly, 100-hour work weeks seem like nothing. I have energy at the end of the day, even after all of those, because I am doing something for me that speaks to me, that is much more to my authentic self. And yeah, the universe just gives me all the energy in the world to keep doing that. And whereas, I would work a 20-hour work week in corporate and it seemed like 100, and I didn't want to get out of bed and I didn't want to do, and it's the exact opposite now. So if you think that you don't have enough time, enough energy, enough support, it's amazing the people that come out of the woodwork to support you when they see you as happy as you are in something new.
Excellent. Just take that first step that you talked about, right?
Yep.
Take that
forward momentum. There's a lot to be said.
Absolutely. Well, Joseph, it was such a blast. I'm so glad we captured your journey on Chiseled for Success. I really had a great time with you this morning.
Same here.
Awesome.
It's been such a pleasure, and I'm so happy that I was able to sit down and share things.
Yes, thank you.